The crystal chandelier swayed slightly above the grand dining hall, casting scattered reflections across polished marble floors. The air smelled faintly of expensive cigars, imported wine, and the arrogance of a man who believed the world bent to his will. At the head of a long mahogany table sat Victor Harland, a millionaire known for his ruthless business tactics and louder-than-life ego. Tonight, he had gathered his business associates, friends, and staff in what he liked to call a celebration of power. Every word he spoke was designed to dominate the room. His voice thundered, filling every corner, demanding attention. People laughed at his cruel jokes, nodded at his boasts, and clapped at his stories, even when they weren't funny. Everyone except one. In the corner of the room, quiet yet observant, stood Clara the maid. Clara was unlike the other servants. While others kept their heads down, she had an unusual calmness about her. She didn't smile nervously at Victor's antics, nor did she rush to flatter him. Her silence wasn't born of fear but of quiet dignity. And perhaps that's what bothered Victor most. As the night wore on, Victor raised his glass and announced, "Do you know why I've made it this far? Because none only shuts me up. No one dares challenge Victor Harland." His guests applauded, some out of habit, others out of fear. Then his piercing gaze drifted toward Clara, who stood silently, her hands folded neatly in front of her. "You there?" Victor pointed, his voice echoing. "Why don't you ever laugh at my jokes? Why don't you ever clap when I speak?" The room grew tense. Clara took a slow breath, her eyes steady but respectful. "Because, sir, truth does not need applause." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Guests froze, forks midair, glasses trembling in nervous hands. Victor's face flushed red, his jaw tightening. "What did you just say?" he roared, slamming his fist on the table. Clara didn't flinch. "I said the truth doesn't need applause. If your words were truly strong, they wouldn't need an audience to validate them." The gasps rippled through the room. No one had ever spoken to Victor like that. His voice rose in fury. "I built empires from dust. I command respect." Clara stepped forward, her voice soft but unwavering. "Respect isn't commanded, sir. It's earned. And tonight, I hear fear in this room, not respect." The room was silent, but her words echoed louder than his shouting ever had. Victor's chest heaved, his pride bruised in front of his guests. Yet in Clara's steady eyes, he saw no hatred, only an unshakable truth that pierced deeper than any insult. For the first time in years, Victor Harland was speechless. The guests shifted uneasily, some even lowering their eyes, ashamed of the way they had enabled his arrogance. Clara bowed her head slightly and stepped back, returning to her quiet corner, leaving Victor to wrestle with his pride. That night, long after the guests had gone and the house was silent, Victor sat alone in the dining hall. Clara's words replayed in his mind like a stubborn echo. Fear, not respect. The realization gnawed at him. His wealth had bought loyalty but not love. His voice had silenced others, but in truth it was hollow without admiration. Over the next weeks, something unexpected began to change. Victor started listening more than he spoke. At first, it was awkward, almost unnatural. But slowly, the people around him, his employees, his staff, even his friends, began to open up in ways they never had before. He noticed Clara again, this time not as the maid who defied him, but as the woman who revealed his deepest flaw with nothing but courage and honesty. One evening, he approached her in the kitchen, his voice uncharacteristically quiet. "You were right," he admitted. "I thought power was about speaking the loudest, but maybe true power is in listening." Clara looked at him kindly, her hands still busy with dishes. "Then you've already taken the first step, sir." From that day forward, Victor Harland began to rebuild, not his empire but himself. His voice didn't vanish, but it found balance. And whenever his temper threatened to rise, he remembered the maid who had silenced him with nothing but truth. The man who once shouted, "Ningo oni sismiyupu," had finally learned that sometimes the most powerful words are the ones spoken softly, and the most powerful people are the ones who choose to listen. Victor Harland had never known silence to be so heavy. All his life, he had drowned out silence with noise, money, power, lavish parties, booming laughter, and his own commanding voice. But Clara's quiet words had struck him harder than any competitor, lawsuit, or betrayal ever had. In the days following the confrontation, rumors swirled. Some of Victor's associates whispered that he had finally met his match in a simple maid. Others mocked him behind closed doors, saying the mighty lion had been tamed by a lamb. Yet beneath all the gossip, something undeniable was happening. Victor began to question himself. For the first time, he noticed the way people looked at him, not with admiration but with fear. His staff scattered when they heard his footsteps. His assistants rushed to anticipate his mood like soldiers preparing for battle. Even his own brother had once admitted he only came to family gatherings because he had to, not because he wanted to. That night replayed in his head endlessly. Clara's words, her calmness, the way the room had gone still. It wasn't just that she had silenced him. It was that she had shown him the emptiness of his voice. But change never comes easily to men like Victor. His first instinct was to prove Clara wrong. He called another dinner, determined to reclaim his dominance. He raised his glass, spoke louder, laughed harder, and made sharper jokes. Yet, the more he spoke, the more hollow it all felt. The applause sounded forced, the laughter brittle. He looked at Clara in the corner again, still calm, still watching, not mocking, not afraid, just present. Her silence was louder than his words. Days turned into weeks. Victor began noticing Clara outside her role as maid. She often stayed late to help the cook or quietly slipped food into paper bags for the homeless who lingered near the estate gates. He once caught her handing her own umbrella to a stranger caught in the rain, walking home drenched herself. One evening, curiosity got the better of him. "Why do you do it?" he asked, cornering her near the kitchen. "Do what, sir? Give so much when you have so little." Clara smiled faintly. "Because kindness doesn't cost me anything, sir, but it gives others everything they might need in that moment." Her words stung deeper than he expected. He had spent millions building skyscrapers, yet here was a woman changing lives with nothing more than kindness.